today's discussion, actually we'll be talking about HIV virus. We'll be talking about HIV what? Virus. We'll be talking about the HIV virus. Actually, HIV is one of pandemic disease, meaning that it is available all over the world. Why? The reason is it is connected to very important aspect of life. So it is very confusing people to leave that aspect. So when we'll be talking about the HIV, the important aspect I think you have been learning throughout your classes, maybe primary school you learned about HIV, secondary school you learned about HIV, but what are we going to add today is where are we coming from the issue of HIV, then going to our point of discussing the HIV virus itself. Therefore, I'll start with discussing with you about the history of HIV to get the concept. As doctors, you have to get the concept. It was not easy like the way we see today. You can diagnose the disease and say this is HIV/AIDS. It was not that way. It was not easy to diagnose the disease. So currently we are having a lot of things that you can diagnose the disease, a lot of symptoms, but it was not easy. It was a journey to discover this giant virus which is called HIV virus. So let us go together and learn the history of HIV, then later on we'll come back to the real HIV and understand the symptom, the clinical aspect of it, the laboratory aspect of it, and treatment. So history of HIV/AIDS. Actually, it is widely believed that HIV originated in Kenya, the Democratic Republic of Congo, around 1920, when HIV crossed the species from the chimpanzee to human. That's the story. But actually there are a lot of theories explaining the origin of HIV and how it happened. You will go and read about it, but you have to understand at least the big picture like this way. Up to until 1980s, you don't know how many people were infected with HIV or developed AIDS. HIV was unknown and transmission was not accompanied by noticeable signs and symptoms. Therefore, it was hard to identify. People were just dying, but we were not aware what is this organism killing people. Actually, while sporadic cases of AIDS were, we are talking about the 1980s now, while sporadic cases of AIDS were documented prior to 1970s, available data suggests that the current endemic started in mid-late 1970s, and by 1980s, HIV may have already spread to 5 continents, which are North America, South America, Europe, Africa, and Australia. In this period, between 100,000 to 300,000 people could have been already infected. That was our estimated statistics on number of people who got infected by this disease. So in 1980s, 81, then the cases of rare lung infection called pneumocystic carinae pneumonia were found in 5 young, previously healthy guys, men in Los Angeles. So this was the alarm, because pneumocystic carinae pneumonia is a disease which never happened to someone who is healthy, someone who is having immune competent. Actually, it happened to people who are having very low immunity, meaning that immunocompromised people. And people learned that these people developed this pneumocystic carinae while they were healthy guys. So it came to a point they developed. At the same time, there were a report of a group of men in New York and California with unusual aggressive cancer named as sarcoma, which I said previously that this is caused by human health. Number 8. Therefore, this was very aggressive cancer again happened to people. And scientists, doctors were not aware what is this thing happening, causing people to have very low immunity and again causing diseases like pneumocystic carinae. It was confusing. Again, in December 1981, the first cases of PCP, which is called pneumocystic carinae pneumonia, were reported in people who injected drugs. You can see the flow. These 5 were gays, meaning that they were having same sex. Are we together? Then again came to the point of whereby we see in people who are having injecting drug. Are we together? By the end of the year, there were about 270 reported cases of severe immunodeficiency among gay men in 19, and 121 of them had died. So you can see the history which is coming down, opening up itself, but people are not aware again. Are we together? And in 1982, in June 1982, a group of cases among gay men in Southern California suggested that the cause of immune deficiency was sexual, and the syndrome was initially called the gay-related immunodeficiency. You can see the history now. It was not known as the nowadays we say human immunodeficiency. It was called what? Gay-related immunodeficiency. Later that month, the disease was reported in hemophilic and heightened, leading to many people believing that maybe this disease is originating from what? Height. But it was not correct as well. Now in September the same year, the CDC, this is the Center of Disease Control, CDC, used the term AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, for the first time describing a disease that at least moderately predictive of defect in cell-mediated immunity, occurring in person with no known case of immunity resistance to that disease. So CDC tried to explain that there is this disease which is called acquired immunodeficiency. Why acquired? Because it happened to someone who was known to be immunocompetent. But later on, you find that person is no longer immunocompetent. That's why we say it is acquired, not born with. Are we together? And as it went on, it was seen that this disease, what it happened, it diminished or it defected the part of what? Mediated immunity. Mediated immunity is always connected to CD4, T helper cell, CD4. So for that reason, those CD4 were not working properly to fight against diseases. We are no longer working properly. And for that reason, the disease was called the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome by CDC, which is called the Center for Disease Control. In 1982, AIDS cases were also being reported in a number of European countries. In Uganda, nearby East Africa, nearby Tanzania, doctors reported cases of new fatal wasting disease locally known as SLIM. You see? So those people who are sick from this syndrome were found themselves to be very slim. And the Ugandan doctors reported as what? A SLIM disease. Reported as what? A SLIM disease. By this point, number of AIDS-specific organizations have been set up, including the San Francisco AIDS Foundation, which is called the SASA-PAF in USA, and the Terence Hingley Trust in UK. These were a foundation to look into how they could deal with these fatal diseases which were happening mostly to young people, gays. Then in January 1983, AIDS was reported among female partners of men who had disease suggested it could be passed through heterosexual. So at the first, you can see people thought maybe this was gay disease because it was continuously happening to men. But later on, they come to realize that people who were having sexual relationship with the partner who are having this disease also got infected. And that's where they come up and connected that this disease could happen because of heterosexual sex. In May, Dr. of Pasteur Institute in France reported the discovery of a new retrovirus called the lymphadenopathy-associated virus that could be the cause of AIDS. So even the cause of AIDS that we know today is HIV was not what again? Known. It was in development to understand what kind of this virus is. Then in June, the first report of AIDS in children hinted that it could be passed via the casual contact, but this was later ruled out, and it was concluded that they had no probability to acquire AIDS from their mother before, during, and shortly after birth. Therefore, there were also confusion because a kid was found to have HIV. Maybe they thought, okay, maybe contact again can be the cause of disease. So even learning that which are the causes of disease, what are the serious things which can cause you to acquire the disease, it was learning process. What I'm trying to tell you is there are diseases what you are seeing today, you read it as for granted, but it took people a lot of energy and effort to discover what is really happening. So, by this September again, CDC, the Center of Disease Control, identified all major routes of transmission and ruled out transmission by casual contact. Therefore, this was the year whereby they said, okay, a person can have HIV, but you can still hug him because there's no way you can get infected by casual contact. Again, food cannot cause, even when you are eating together, cannot cause the disease. Water, issue of air, surface, all together they cannot cause the disease. Light up the bulb. So the CDC also published their first set of recommendations because of healthy workers. and all allied health professions to prevent AIDS transmission, because these were now known that these are not cause of what? Disease. There were other causes of disease. Then in November, the World Health Organization held its first meeting to assess the global AIDS situation and began international surveillance. You can see this disease is still very young disease in terms of understanding, science being aware of what is happening. Then by the end of the year, number of AIDS cases in USA has risen to 364 people. Of this number, 1,292 had died. Then in 1984, April 1984, the National Cancer Institute announced they had found the cause of AIDS. You know, the first one also announced, these also announced that the retrovirus HTLV-LLV3, in a joint conference with the Boston Institute, they announced that LAV and HTLV3 are identical and the likely cause of AIDS. Blood tests were created to screen for the virus with the hope that vaccine could be developed in 20 years. But till now, we don't have what? Vaccine. This was 1984. In July, the Center of Disease Control stated that jointing injecting drug use and sharing needles should also be effective in preventing what? Transmission of virus. Therefore, program was set in growing concern about HTLV1 and LAV, and for that reason, in October, bathhouses and private sex clubs in San Francisco were closed due to the high-risk sexuality activity. New York and Los Angeles followed suit within a year. By the end of 1984, there had been 7,699 AIDS cases and 665 AIDS deaths in USA, with 762 cases reported in Europe. In Amsterdam, the Netherlands, the first needle and syringe also were issued, which was reported. In 1985 now, in March 1985, the USA Food and Drug Administration licensed the first commercial blood test, ELISA, to detect the antibody to the virus. Blood bank began to screen the USA blood supply, because it was again known now the virus can get transmitted through blood transfusion. Wonder in our countries like in Tanzania, we see this was developed just currently. There are a number of years that we passed without having this test because it was very expensive. So to this point that we see we have drugs and everything, it has been a very huge work which has been done by people who were strong on this. Then in April, the USA Department of Health and Human Services, the World Health Organization, hosted the first International AIDS Conference in Atlanta, Georgia. That's what the first AIDS conference. And Ryan, in 1985, Ryan, white teenager from Indiana is in USA, who acquired AIDS through contaminated blood product used to treat hemophilia. There are people who were treated by hemophilia, is it? Hemophilia, you know, is the loss of blood through. This is abnormal. Then on October 2, the actor Rock Hanson dies from AIDS. The first high-profile fatality. And this, he left about 250,000 USA dollars to set up American Foundation for AIDS Research, because this was a big man who died from this very disease. Therefore, it set up alarm. This is very strong disease. Need to be cared of. What could be if you and me die? Okay, so in December 1985, the USA Public Health Service issued the first recommendation for preventing mother-to-child transmission of virus, and by the end of 1985, every region in the world had reported at least one case of AIDS, with 20,303 cases in total. These were reported. And you must remember that these were just clinical presentation and manifestation which were reported. There were a number of people who were sick from this very similar disease, but because there were no way to test them, we had no statistical data. Are we together? That's a very important component to remember. Then in May 1986, the International Conference Committee on Attacks of Virus said that the virus that causes AIDS will officially be called HIV, Human immunodeficiency virus, feed of those names which I mentioned previously. By the end of the year, H5 country had reported 38 cases, 401 cases of AIDS to the World Health Organization. By region, this were as follows. In Africa, we had 2,323 cases. America had 31,741 cases. Asia had 84 cases. Europe had 3,858 cases, and Oceania had 395 cases. Why Europe had many cases? Because they were able to diagnose disease. They were having clinicians, they were having doctors who can see the disease. Maybe Africa had a lot of cases as well because no one could see the disease, no one could diagnose the disease. Therefore, even the statistics was reported to be what? Very low. So you must associate with it. Again, you see Asia. Asia had very small number of cases because it seems most of Muslim countries, they are doing very well with this aspect because there is a high trust. Unless if someone wants to marry, he go and marry another wife, is it?
Yes.
And trust is still there in the family. Therefore, few cases have been reported. Even in today, this is real happening. So, this was the situation in 1986. Then in 1987, in February 1987, the WHO launched the global program of AIDS to raise awareness, meaning that to tell people what is the cause of disease, maybe it's heterosexual, blood transfusion, issue of sharing of the needle. Therefore, awareness was started to be present to the people. The general evidence-based policies were then developed to provide technical and financial support to countries, conduct research, promote participation of non-governmental organizations, and promote the right of people living with HIV. Because you can see most of people who are living with HIV were what? There are a lot of things happening here. Stigma was happening. And in some countries like USA, it was guaranteed that if you have HIV, you should not be either the country. One of the criteria is you must be HIV free. So those were things which are happening. This was a disease which raised up very high discrimination among the nations. Then in March, the FDA, Food and Drug Administration, provided the first antiviral drugs, which is called Zidovudine, AZT, as treatment of HIV. This drug was developed in 1987, but we as Africans got them almost in 2000 and something. 13 to 15 years, this drug came to Tanzania. A lot of people had died because of this very disease. Because why? The reason is poverty. The reason is what? Poverty. Few people could handle buying off of the drugs. Even today, the drug that is given to people free, if you calculate the amount of money which is used by that particular person, you could have been given a lot of car. Are we together? So, the message is take care of your health. It is of very important for all of us, and people are paying a lot to make sure that people are given these drugs. Then in March, then in April, the FDA approved the Western blood testing kit. The Western blot is the mechanism of testing and identifying the virus. And more specific HIV antibody testing, because we know HIV when in the body will automatically produce what? Antibodies. Then in 1987, in July, WHO confirmed that HIV could be passed from mother to child during what? Breastfeeding. That's why mothers now are educated on how they have to breastfeed their kids, and they are allowed to breastfeed for how many? For 6 what? 6 months. Why are they in the use of what? Drugs. Why? Because when they're in the use of drugs, the viral load goes down. Therefore, the ability or capability of them to infect their kids become very narrow. Then in October, AIDS became the first illness debated in the United States General Assembly. It goes to even what? To General Assembly. It was rarely for disease to go to General Assembly because that's where people discuss the economy of what is it. But now, this disease went up to the General Assembly. Why? Because it was terrible. Economic was shaken by this very disease. People were not having any, they are not aware of what is happening. So by December, it was reported that 751 cases of AIDS had been reported to WHO, with 47,022 of these in the USA. The WHO estimated that 5 to 10 million people were living with HIV worldwide at that particular time. So in 1988, the WHO declared the 1st December as the first World AIDS Day. The groundwork was laid for the nationwide HIV and AIDS system in USA, but later funded by Ryan White Care Act. Ryan Act, if you remember, this was the guy who died from what? This one. The person who died from AIDS, which was transmitted due to his disease. Therefore, the foundation was formed so that they can remember his name. Then in March 1989, 145 countries had reported 142,000 cases of AIDS. However, the WHO estimated there have been 400,000 cases worldwide. In June, the Center for Disease Control released the first guideline to prevent the pneumocystic carcinoma, and an opportunistic infection that was major cause of disease. Therefore, they were also raising up of policies or guidelines to prevent this disease. Number of reported AIDS cases in USA reached 100,000. Now, in 1991, the visual AIDS artist. You see the thing that we see in AIDS here? This was developed in 1991. In 1991, the visual AIDS artist Carcass launched the Ready Ribbon project to create a symbol of compassion for people living with HIV and their carers. The Red Ribbon became an international symbol of AIDS awareness. So when you see it, it is a symbol of what? A compassion for people living with HIV and also what? For the people who are taking care of them. So on 7th November, professional basketball player Evan Maggie Johnson announced that he had HIV and retired from the sport. Planning to educate young people about the virus, this announcement helped him begin to dispose of the stereotypical and still widely held in USA and elsewhere of HIV-guide disease. A couple of weeks later, Freddie Mercury, led to the singer of rock group Queen, announced he had AIDS and he died a day later. So, announcement of these people, the way these people announce this disease, also reduce the level of stigmatization, because if big people announcing that way mean that even other people, when they announce it, it's kind of what? It's kind of less traumatization with the community. That's where community started to accept it as something which is belong to the community and has to deal with it with a great care. So those are important components for the disease. There were a lot of development which happened in between, and the major thing that happened mostly is discovery of other drugs to treat this disease, of which combination of drugs came up, of which now most of the drugs that people are using, they are combined together to make sure that they manage those things. And again, nowadays we see a lot of clinics have been developed, a lot of foundations have been developed to make sure that people who are living with HIV and those who are taking care of them, they are well educated of their situation and they are aware of what is really happening. They are attentive to receive advice from professionals who are undergoing different education training. And also we as physicians now, or we as doctors now, we are aware of what is really happening in terms of this disease. We can handle people who are suffering from this disease. We can easily diagnose the disease, because if you see sarcoma, we are very sure that, okay, this might be the cause. The major cause of this might be what? AIDS might be the cause, is it? Because it has compromised the patient, and now those virus, human herpes group 8 have been what? Has caused this disease. Even the way you take history, if person is having risk of sexual and the other things which are related to HIV, you can easily suspect because you are now aware. But it was not that way. It was not what? It was confusion. It was confusion. Just see, I think 20-something years or almost 30 years back, it was what? Real confusion among physicians, among scientists, and all health workers. It was confusion. And for you to get this history well, you can keep reading and understand what is really happening and how far we have gone and what will be your contribution toward the elimination of this disease, toward treatment of people who are sick from this disease, and toward management of different symptoms which are rising up due to this very disease. Are we together? So that is the simple history. There are a lot of things that also happened from 1991 up to very very moment. There are a lot of things happen, but I thought it was important for me to cover this very important aspect for the primary understanding of why are we really concerned of this HIV/AIDS. Are we together? Yes. Okay. 5 minutes stress, then we come up for the HIV itself. Is it 5 minutes? 2 minutes? Now. Okay, piga story. Ulizeni maswali. Gazeti inafanana na darasa 7.